Hello and welcome to the Quest for Games. I'm Jerry, and in this video I'm going to do a review of the 2 to 4 player game Command of Nature by Unstable Games. I crowdfunded this game, so it is a copy that I bought. It is not an evaluation copy. I am not sponsored for this video. I do not get paid in any way for this video. So the comments and opinions in the video are mine and mine alone and do not reflect anyone else. So with that, let's go take a look at the game. I'll do a quick overview. If you're interested in a how to play, I do have a how to play on the channel in a different video. Okay, for this overview, I have the Pebble faction and the Droplet faction out in their player formations. To play the game, you basically are playing, it's a deck builder that you are doing combat, so I would call it a combat deck builder. You give yourself, or you deal 5 cards to yourself, 5 cards, well, I can show them to you this way. 5 cards from your deck. You have 5 cards in your hand. The first thing that you would do is you would look at these sun effects on the cards. Like this one has a sun effect here. Your Sage always has a sun effect that gives you 3 gold. In my case, I have a sun effect here that would give me 3 gold. So I put 3 gold into my purse. This one's sun effect won't work because they're not in the correct row. You can see that there is a row that's necessary for their action to take effect. Oops, I have this one built wrong. To start out, that's what it would look like. So based on the row, certain sun effects would happen. So I've done my sun effects. Next thing I can do is play cards and take actions. And my objective is to try to eliminate elements or vanquish elementals or characters in my opposing teams, or the faction from my opponent, trying to eliminate their elements so that I can get to their Sage. And how I would do that are a couple of ways. One way would be to play like this attack command. This attack command attacks 1 row. So this character would attack this character. This character would take 2 damage and he has 2 health. So he would take 2 damage. The opposing faction could play an instant card like this one, which would allow them to mitigate the damage by 1. So let's say that they did that. So now this character only took 1 damage, so I put 1 damage token on there. That damage token stays. It doesn't go away at the end of the round. You know, if he survives this round, that damage token stays on him until the character is eliminated, until the character is vanquished. So let's say in the next turn or my next action, I use a ranged attack from this character. So 2 more damage is coming to this character. They don't have another way to mitigate it. So 2 more damage hits this character. This character is now gone. That character goes back to the box. It doesn't go back to your hand. You then have to rearrange your formation so that you have as much up front of your rows built as you can. If I had eliminated this one from that first one, I would have moved this up and my formation would kind of look like this. The intention is to get back to the Sage, but you have to keep your formation as much up front as you possibly can to try to keep your faction formation built as much up front as possible. Okay, so I've taken I've done some things with my cards. I've taken I've done some actions with my cards. I could, let's say this character was eliminated. I'm just trying to show you what we could do. If that character was eliminated out of my hand, I could have placed, and you didn't see me take that, but out of my hand, I could have placed another character in there to keep my formation. So when this character's turn comes around, they might be able to pull a card from their hand and play it. to rebuild their formation. That's one of the other actions you can take. As I eliminated let's say I eliminated 2, I would move my experience tracker up. Once I get my experience tracker up far enough on the experience board, which I don't know how well you can see, but I move this experience tracker up on my player board. That at 4 unlocks 1 card that I put into my discard pile and gives me an action for the pebble. It gives me a faction action that I can add a shield to one of my players. That would cost me an action point. So I have 4 action points to spend. I spent 1, 2, and then if I played this card, that would be 3. If I happen to have another one, I could put a shield on one of my players. That continues on. You unlock these cards, right? That opens up more faction actions. You'll see that the faction actions kind of get stronger and they play on each other. Like, I can now remove all shields from an elemental in my formation and then add the same number of shields to elementals in my formation in any distribution I want. So it would let me level all my shields out. And then my top one, which I'll talk more about later, but this is a powerful one. I can remove up to 2 shields off of, let's say this guy had 2. I could remove 2 shields off of this character and do 4 damage to anybody in the opponent's formation. So I could do direct damage to the Sage, even though he's back here in the 3rd row. If I remove the 2 shields, I could do direct damage to that elemental and do 4 damage to their Sage. So the next thing that I would do on my turn is I would take the money that I had and I would be able to spend it in the marketplace, similar to any other deck builder. I can buy, these are command cards. I can buy any one of the command cards that I'd want to buy, or these are, oh, he's upside down. These are additional elements or warriors that I can put into my formation. I could buy one of these. They would go into my discard pile, and then eventually they would be available for me to put into my formation. You will notice that this one is actually a twig. So in the marketplace, you will see factions in the marketplace that do not reflect the 2 factions that are battling each other. There are some of these ritual commands that will take advantage of that says, you get to do damage based on how many different factions you have in your formation. So I would be able to buy one of these with that 3 gold that I have. This one's 3. So I could buy this one for 3. They would go into my discard pile. I have used a certain number of cards in my hand. So I have to replay my hand back up to 5 at the end of my turn during cleanup. I only have enough to do 4. So I have to shuffle my discard pile, and draw 1 more. And so that's how you get things back from your discard pile back into your hand. But I do want to note that when these characters were eliminated, they went out. They are not in the discard pile for this character. They are off of the game, out of the game. That does help your hand stay smaller. It is a battling deck builder, so you are fighting each other. So again, it was that was a quick overview. If you want a full playthrough of how the game plays, please watch my How to Play in a different video on this channel. So let's talk more about the game. Build quality of the game is good. The player board is a nice thick cardboard. It's not cardstock. It's a regular cardboard player board. The markers or tokens that come with the game are nice nice cardboard also. Again, not cardstock. They do have it's like a 1 on that side and a 3 on the other side. I mentioned that in the unboxing and in my How to Play video that I thought that might be a problem, but I've played the game, 10 times or so, and I haven't seen them have a problem. They haven't flipped on me. So build quality, it's a good quality game. You would kind of expected that from Unstable Games. The player counts that I've played it at 2 players. So I can't really judge how well the 4-player game works. The 2-player game at a 2-player count, it works well. They say on the box that it's 30 minutes to an hour. I haven't seen it be 30 minutes to an hour. The shortest game that I have played was an hour and 20 minutes. I started timing them after the first 1 or 2. And those first 1 or 2, I was playing myself. So I was going as fast as I could. And I still don't think I got it in an hour. But the playing with other people, we've been an hour and a half plus every game. So keep that in mind. There is one warning that I'd like to give you. The box says age of 10 and up. There is a reason, I think, for that. If you are used to Unstable Games and you have something like Happy Little Dinosaurs or Unstable Unicorns or even Here to Slay, those games you're pretty much playing yourself. You're trying to do set collection to build your set out. You're trying to do something like play the best pointed card to try to move yourself up on the path. There are some things you can do in those games against somebody else to try to prevent them from doing something, but you're not directly attacking your opponent. In this game, it's a battler. It's more akin to a Star Realm or a Hero Realm, where you're attacking your opponent. If you've played a game where you're attacking the opponent and you're trying to whittle down their health pool, this is closer to that than one of those other games. So, if you're playing, and I'm thinking children, but if you're playing against an opponent that gets upset when you're playing like chess and you take one of their chess pieces, or something along those lines, you are directly attacking your opponent. There's nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with it. It's a fun game. I just want to make sure that you're aware that if I bought it because it's an Unstable Games game and those are fun little games to play, then fine. But be aware that this game plays a little different than those games, and you may want to think if the people you're playing with are going to be upset because you're vanquishing their players off of the board and they're gone forever, you might want to think twice about getting the game. If you're okay with that and you like a deck builder, you like deck building mechanics, and you like a battler, I highly recommend this. I think it's a very good game. It's very fun to play. There's a lot of good interaction between the cards. So I already started into pros, so let me just continue down with that. There's a lot of good interaction, a lot of combos you can pull off on the cards if you get the right ones. That really feels good. You don't get it all the time, but when you do get it, it really feels good to get some of those combos off. And there are ways to get combos off on your cards. The player board does a good job of telling you kind of read the player board before you play, read the 3 faction actions that you can have, because that does a good job of kind of focusing you on what you should be doing. The pebbles that I just had out in that overview, they're shielding. And you should be trying to shield your characters as much as you can, because when you get to that last faction action, you can take 2 shields off to do 4 damage. You want to do that. So it kind of gives you an idea that, hey, even their cards, when the pebble cards come out, they do things. If this card's shielded, do something else or shield that card. So the interactions based on the pebble and being shielded, and each one of the factions has that kind of a thing. I'm just talking about the pebbles right now because that's what they do. Twigs do boosts in a similar way. The leaf characters do things to let you kind of cycle through your deck and that kind of stuff. So each one has their own little thing that they do. Learn what they do. It'll make the game better for you. And because they do that, I wouldn't call it completely asymmetrical, but there is a little bit of that in the game, which is good. It's nice. It gives you a difference. If you play one faction and then you play another faction, there's a little bit of something to learn. So I like those things. The con side, and these are nitpicky. It's not really anything probably to do with the game, more to do with myself and maybe the people that I played with. But when you're playing, you get 4 actions on a 2-player game, and I think it's 6 on a 4-player game. But you get 4 actions that you can take. And as you're going through trying to figure out, okay, if I do this action and now this card reacts to that action and it's in the right row, so I'm supposed to do that too because that card reacted to this thing. And I can do this other thing because this card reacts to it and it's in the right row. So now I've done 2 or 3 little things off of my one action. And sometimes we get a little bit lost into how many actual actions have I taken and how many things have I done that's a combo off of the action that I just took. So to keep track of those, we've actually started to use markers off the side that we move to say, hey, you've taken 1 action, you've taken a 2nd action, you've taken your 3rd, there's your 4th action, you can't take any more. Another thing that's in that same realm, it's again, probably a me thing. And that is that once you attack with one of your elements, you can't attack again. You can't do a melee attack with this element. And then the next card you play as a ranged attack using the same element doing that ranged attack. There are some exceptions to that rule, but for the most part that you can't do that. So remembering that, oh, this is the one that I did this action with is something you have to do. So you can either do something like, I don't know if I'm allowed to use a word, but tap the card or turn the card sideways to know that I've done that with that card already, or leave the action that you did. If you watched my overview, I left the action card next to it. I'll leave the action card next to it, the attack action card next to it, so that I can remember that I used that element in that attack. There are places where they say if you use this element in a ritual, then this attack action gets better. And you have to remember that too. You have to remember, oh, I use these are the ones that I used in the ritual. Using them in a ritual doesn't prevent them from being able to do an attack command. And in some cases, it actually boosts their attack command. So you have to keep track of some of that stuff. And they don't really give you any way in the game to keep track of it. Again, nitpicky. Those are just some things that I found by playing the game that we've had to do something to try to keep track of. I would recommend the game. I guess if I'm going to do a score, an 8 out of 10, if you like deck battlers, if you're into that kind of a game where people you're playing against, it doesn't bother them that you're eliminating their players, and the two of you are basically player versus player. You're competing. It's direct competition against each other. If that's the kind of people you play with, it's a very good game. I do know that there are some people that don't like that kind of thing, and so it may not be the game for you. But if you like the battling kind of game, I would recommend the game. I think it's a really good game. So thank you if you stuck with me this long. I appreciate your time. If you could, I'd appreciate you subscribing and or liking this video if you liked it. That would help me a lot. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you the next time. Thanks.